This is attempt number 2 at making a chicken roulade at home. We've got some chicken breast which we're going to stuff with a really nice mushroom filling and lots of cheese that we're then coating in a nice crumb, pan frying it and finishing it off in the oven. So let's get straight into it. For the chicken roulade, we're making a stuffing using mushrooms. This is about 400 grams of button mushrooms that I'm going to chop up quite finely. These have been washed and dried quite well just to get rid of any excess moisture. Chop these as small as you can just because it helps it cook a lot faster. But don't worry about making it too fine because we are blending this up after we cook it just so that you get that nice smooth mushroom paste. I know this looks like it's a lot of mushroom, but don't worry. Once most of that water evaporates, you will end up with about half this quantity. Finally, chop up a couple of shallots and 1 whole bulb of garlic. You can use onions or shallots for this. I have some shallots at home, so that's what I'm using. Make sure that your pan is very hot when you're adding in your mushrooms. We're not going to add any oil, just add the mushrooms straight in. And then give it a stir almost immediately, just to get the moisture going and to get it to come out of the mushroom so that you can dry this out as soon as possible. The reason that we don't add in any oil when we're making mushrooms is because the mushrooms will immediately soak up all of that oil, and we don't want that. We don't want any extra oil in this dish. When almost all of the moisture has evaporated, then we go in with the seasoning. Add in a good pinch of salt, about a teaspoon of garlic powder, a little bit of paprika, and the tiniest bit of chili flakes just to bring in a little bit of heat to this. Give it a stir and then just get that cooking. Reduce the heat down a little and then cook it for about 2 to 3 more minutes, just until your mushrooms get a little bit of color to it. Once your mushrooms have become a little brown in color, just move it to the side of your pan like this. Go in with a dash of olive oil just in the middle, just to get the onions and the garlic cooking. And then we go in with the onions or shallots that we've chopped up earlier and the garlic. And then stir this just to get it nice and soft. The onions and the shallots have been cooking for about 3 minutes now. It's starting to nicely soften up. So we're going to mix in the rest of the mushrooms and then let that all cook together so that all of those flavors nicely blend in. Yum! That nice garlickiness is coming through. Don't be too heavy-handed with the salt because we are adding in lots of cheese to this later, which will bring in lots more salty flavors. I might actually just go in with the tiniest bit more of chili flakes just to bring in a little bit more heat to cut through the cheesiness of the cheese that we're adding later. This has now been cooking for about 7, maybe 8 minutes. The mushrooms are nice and soft. I'm going to just kill the heat and then go in with some herbs. So I'm adding some fresh thyme to this, just a little bit, maybe 2 sprigs, and about a handful of parsley, and then stir that through. Take the mushroom off the heat, put it back into a bowl, and then let it cool down a little bit before we blitz this up. While your mushroom mixture is cooling down, let's grate some mozzarella. I've just got one of these cheap blocks of mozzarella. It doesn't have to be, very expensive or fancy cheese, because this is going into the middle of our chicken roulade. So this is about 150 grams of mozzarella now. If you guys watched my previous attempt at making a chicken roulade, I didn't grate the mozzarella. I kind of just sliced it up, and that made rolling it a lot more difficult. So I'm hoping this will help smoothen things out a little. I'm adding in some Parmigiano just for an extra hit of flavor. That might be maybe about 50 to 60 grams. You can go in with a little bit more if you like. Cheese, you know, you don't measure it by grams, you measure it with your heart. It's a cheesy line, I know, but you know, cheese. Okay, so our cheese is now grated, and I think our mushroom is cool enough for us to blend it. This is what it's looking like right now. Spoon your cooled mushroom mixture into your blender. Try not to spill, and then just blitz this up. Give it a quick stir just to make sure everything is getting blended equally into small little bits like this. Yum. So yum. And then I'm gonna add in the Parmesan or the Parmigiana and most of the mozzarella and get it blitzing again. You can see it's almost fully mixed through. I'm just gonna help it out with a spoon. Now this is a lot more paste-like than it was before. Perfect. Holds its shape. Oh my god, delicious. I'm just gonna pop this into the bowl to make it easier when we're assembling the chicken. Oh my god, I can just eat a bucket of this, I think. Yum. Now that our filling is made, let's get on to stuffing this chicken. First, get a fairly large piece of cling film, maybe about that size, and pop your chicken breast in the middle. And then fold your cling film over like this with a little bit of space on the side. And then we are going to pound the shit out of this chicken. So the mistake I made last time was that I used chicken thighs, boneless thighs, instead of chicken breasts. This I feel would work a lot better as we're rolling this up. Okay, so you pound it like that a little and you can see it's getting a little flat. Then you open this out, and just to create a little bit more space in your cling, and then fold this back. And then pound it a little bit more. Keep flipping your chicken over. This is one of my favorite things to do. When I'm crumbling cookies for like a base of a tart or a pie, oh man, I love, it's such a like therapeutic thing. Also, if you're really angry, it's a great way to get rid of your anger. Alright, now you can see this has become a fair amount larger than it was before. It's quite thin as well, so just be careful when you're handling it. After you pound the chicken, this is the top side of the breast. This is what's going to go under our roulade. Open this out and then season this fairly generously with salt and pepper on both sides. So you season the top side of the chicken breast and then you flip this over, and this is the inner side. This is softer, so this will roll in easier. And then go in with a little bit of salt and pepper on the other side as well. Okay, we are ready to rock and roll. Get your mushroom filling. Divide this into 4 equal parts because we have 4 chicken breasts. Roughly 4 equal parts. And then pop 1 part on this. Just spread it out to cover almost the whole surface of the chicken. Leave a little bit of space right at the end so that any filling that gets pushed as you're rolling this roulade up will just fill in that gap. And then we go in with just a little bit more mozzarella. Just to really bring that cheesiness home. I'm gonna roll this lengthwise like this. Okay. So what you do is you tuck in the chicken like this. Roll it as tightly as you can using use the cling film to help you get that roll nice and tight. And then go in like that. And then wrap this. Tighten it as much as possible like this. Wrap it. Tighten it using the two sides as well. Twist it together. Then twist it like that. And then you can just maybe tie that together. Beautiful. And then this goes in the freezer to set maybe at least for an hour longer if possible. While our chicken is setting in the freezer, let's prepare a bit of a dredging station. Into one bowl, I'm adding in some breadcrumbs. Season your breadcrumbs with a little bit of salt, maybe about a teaspoon of chili flakes, and some garlic powder. Give that a little mix. Ooh, actually, I might go in with a little dried parsley as well. Just mix it up. Okay, that's done. And now into your second bowl, go in with the flour. Season the flour with just a little bit of salt and the tiniest pinch of pepper. And then just give that a mix. And into your final bowl, just go in with 1 egg and then give it a quick mix. And the final thing for our dredging station is a lined baking sheet to keep our roulades on. Our roulades have been sitting in the freezer now for about just over an hour. I would have liked it to sit a little bit longer so it's a bit firmer, but I am running out of daylight to film. So let's get on with it. Okay, so you take the roulade out of the freezer and then unwrap it. The longer you keep it in the freezer, the more it holds its shape, especially when you're cooking it. But this is already pretty decent. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we'll put this in the flour and coat it in flour. Like that. Coat all sides. And then roll it in the egg. So the theory is that the flour helps the egg stick to our chicken, which then helps the breadcrumbs stick to it. And then roll it in our breadcrumbs. Take some of those breadcrumbs and just pour it on top. And pat it down. Make sure to get the two sides as well. Beautiful. So I've got a fairly large flat pan heating, and I'm gonna go in with a good glug of olive oil because we want to get a nice color on our chicken roulades before we pop them in the oven. And this is now nice and hot, so I'm gonna go in with these chicken roulades. And I'm hoping and praying that these will hold its shape, unlike the last time where they kind of crumbled and fell apart and opened out a little. I'm just a little worried just because they're still very soft and they haven't had enough time in the freezer to set. But keep my fingers crossed. So far, looking pretty good, I think. I really hope. Okay, let's very, very carefully flip these now. Come on. Oh wow. Did you see that? What was that? Oh, stunning. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, I am happy with how these are looking. So let each side brown a little before you turn it over and get a nice color going on all of the sides. We're not looking to cook the chicken at this point. It will finish cooking in the oven. Just want to get that nice color going. Seal off the two sides and then pop this onto your baking sheet. Our roulades have got a nice color to it now. I'm going to just pop it in the oven. And I'm just going to let that bake maybe for about 20 to 30 minutes until it's cooked through. Reheat the same pan and then add in your butter. We're just going to make a quick gravy to go on top of our roulade. Once your butter has melted, then go in with the flour. And then stir that around. Maybe for about 2 to 3 minutes, just until it turns a pale brown color and your flour gets nice and cooked. So you want to cook out that raw flour taste from this. Once your flour has that nice toasty brown color like this, then we can start trickling in the stock. And then just whisk it in. Do it a little at a time. And then scrape up any of those bits that stuck to the pan. And then add in more. Once you manage to scrape up all of the bits that stuck to the pan, then you can add in more stock. And then just whisk this until any lumpy bits have dissolved in here, and then keep heating this until you get it to reduce down, thicken up to the consistency that you want. At this point, I'm just going to taste a little bit of this. Because our chicken stock is already very flavorful, we don't need to go in with any salt for this. When it's about this thick, I'm going to kill the heat because this will get thicker as it cools down a little. So what we're looking for is kind of this kind of consistency where it's still a little bit runny. It doesn't really hold its shape. Delicious. Okay. And now I'm going to go in with the herbs. So I am going to add in a little bit of thyme. And then a handful of parsley from what we saved earlier. Give that a stir. And that's your gravy done. Okay, it's looking good. Most of it has held its shape. There's a little bit that hasn't, but that's all right. Check. Stick that in the middle. Okay, so it's about 80 degrees Celsius, which means it's cooked all the way through. So these chicken roulades were in the oven for about 25 minutes. I cooked it until the internal temperature was just over 80 Celsius, just to make sure it's fully cooked through. It's been resting now for about 10 minutes, just for it to cool down a little, just to make it easier to handle. So let's cut into it and see how it turns out. I am excited and I am nervous. Okay, let's get into it. Ready? Oh, yes, 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 yes. that is exactly what I was looking for. I am so happy. Just look at that, beautifully swirled. The meat is nice and juicy. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to eat this. We're serving this up on a creamy bit of mash so it soaks up all that delicious gravy. And then just spoon some of that gravy on top. Oh my goodness. It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. The mushroom that swirled through that chicken, the little crispy coating that we did with the breadcrumbs, it's cooked perfectly. The meat is beautifully tender because we pounded it and flattened it out. The gravy is incredible. Oh my god. This is such a warm, hearty, comforting meal, and you guys have to try it. Yum! The recipe for this is in the caption below. Please subscribe to my channel Arubakes so that you don't miss out on any of this. See you in the next video. Bye!